Fakuni Roxane, and I am a member of Team Integrity. We have three members, Dr. Hubert, Dr. Patrick, and our supervisor is Professor Caroline Ngati, who, if you come to know, is very meticulous. So we are looking at the impact of leading with emotional intelligence, and we are looking at an assessment of employee engagement, organizational culture, and team performance in dynamic environment. And we choose to look at our topic in the context of the hotel sector of the hospitality industry, how leaders' emotional intelligence impact or have effect on these concepts. Our presentation is going to start with an introduction. Then we look at the problem that necessitated this study, all the way to our references. We would say that in the evolving work landscape, it is important that leaders lead with emotional intelligence. If leaders in the hotel sector understand how they feel at any point in time and understand the people they work with to achieve their set goals, then they are bound to make sure or achieve good customer service, ensuring that guests are happy and they make repeat visits. That is why emotional intelligence is very critical to organizations, and especially to the hotel sector, which is a people-centered sector. What then is emotional intelligence? According to Goal 1 1995, it is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage one's own emotions, not just them, but those of others. In view of this, our study examined how leader emotional intelligence affects engagement, culture, and team performance in relation to employees in the hotel sector. We have 4 research questions that guide our study. We are looking first how leader emotional intelligence affects employee engagement. Second, how it affects organizational culture. Third, team performance. And we're also looking at best practices that can sustain high emotional intelligence. What necessitated this study? In reviewing literature, we realized that in 2012 in Korea, Jun and Yoon studied emotional intelligence and its impact on workplace behaviors. Ayud 2019 also studied leader emotional intelligence and its impact on employee retention in Jordan. In Australia and in the United States, similar studies were conducted. We also found out in Ghana that Datsun 2020 studied leadership styles, whether leaders using democratic leadership style, autocratic, laissez-faire, and other styles had impact on employees delivering based on set target. We found that Kujo 2023 also studied employee emotional intelligence. AITA 2025 also studied employee emotional skills. And in Cameroon, we realized that there was just a study that was not even on emotional intelligence per se, but on ethical leadership by Takan and Obzuren 2019. So in the literature that we reviewed, we realized that there seemed to be no study on leader emotional intelligence that linked all 3 outcomes, that is the team performance, employee engagement, and organizational culture simultaneously. So this is the literature we used. Before we delve into what we found after using the problem to study the issues, we want to define what employee engagement is. We define that in the context of our study as emotional connection to work, according to Robertson et al. 2023. Organizational culture refers to shared norms and values. Team performance refers to goal achievement with quality and efficiency, according to Wang 2023. And dynamic work environment in the context of our work, because we are looking at the hotel sector, refers to a workplace with constant change and predictability, because you are dealing with human beings. They have needs that exceed your expectations sometimes. There are a lot of surprises, and people want you to meet them at their point of need in the hotel sector. So we decided to use attribution theory to help us understand this problem, Because attribution theory by Hayden 1958 explains how people assign causes to events and behaviors. If an issue happened in the hotel sector, for example, is the manager going to blame employees for not delivering up to expectation? Or the manager is going to look at external issues or external factors like staff being understaffed. That is why the problem has happened. But this theory was further developed by Ross 1977, who introduced the fundamental attribution error, which looked at overestimating internal causes and underestimating external causes for others' behavior. We are applying this theory to our work, looking at how leaders with high emotional intelligence avoid blaming employees for situational failures, and how leaders with low emotional intelligence commit the fundamental attribution error. They blame employees, they blame everyone but themselves. We used a survey to find answers to our research questions, and the survey was developed using Goleman's 1995 5-component on self-awareness, which look at knowing one's own emotions and how they affect others, self-regulation on how people control impulses and stay calm under pressure, and motivation, working toward goals with energy and persistence, empathy, understanding and sharing the feelings of others, and social skills, managing relationships and building networks. We use a cross-sectional survey to find answers to our research questions. And according to Cresswell and Cresswell 2018, the cross-sectional survey helps in finding responses at a goal. So if we are doing a study and we needed to gather data at a goal, it's advisable you use cross-sectional survey. So we chose that. For our sample, we used 25 hotel employees, and our research area was Ghana, where we had 92% of respondents from, in Cameroon, 8% of our respondents from, which later on we'll discuss as a limitation to the study. We used a self-administered questionnaire based on Goleman's 1995 5 emotional intelligence component, and we analyzed our study using descriptive statistics. For our research question 1, on how leader emotional intelligence affects employee engagement, we realized that a majority of our respondents agreed that when leaders show emotional intelligence, it affects them positively, as it is shown in the chart. So this is feedback from respondent 5, who says that she calms down confronting situations. Her empathy ensures guests are satisfied and operational excellence. So this and a respondent attesting to the fact that when her manager is calm and she calms down before she confronts situations, it ensures that at the end of the day, things are got right and people are not being blamed unnecessarily. There is a counter feedback from respondent 2, who says that I am unmotivated and irritated when my manager shows less emotional intelligence. So if managers or leaders show emotional intelligence, our study shows that it has positive effect on employee engagement. Result 2, that is in relation to our research question 1, shows that when the organizational culture is collaborative, it is competitive, supportive, and innovative, it also has positive impact on employees. So just as respondent 6 says, it says that emotional intelligence fosters trust and psychological safety. Employees feel comfortable sharing ideas and admitting mistakes without fear of harsh judgment, because you know that at the end of the day, the leader is going to look at the problem and not you, the individual. So you feel comfortable sharing what you know is wrong, even when you know that it goes against company policy, because you know that at the end of the day, you're not going to be blamed unnecessarily. For research question 3, we found that employee leader emotional intelligence also had positive effect on team performance. So 52% said their team performance was good, 40% said it was excellent. So this respondent, who is respondent 10, says that team performance helps create psychologically safe environment that improve cohesion and motivation, resulting in better conflict resolution, increased innovation, and lower employee burnout. Because you have someone to lean on. You are a team, and you have a supportive team, and so even when you're overwhelmed and tasks are too much for you to do, you can go back to your manager to renegotiate when possible, and you can also seek for help from your colleagues when possible. For our research question 4, we sought to find out best practices that leaders can emulate to ensure that they sustain high emotional intelligence. And on top of the responses was training and workshops. And from there, 44% of our respondents also said feedback mechanisms would work, as well as self-reflection practices. While 10 respondents, which represent 40%, mentioned that mentorship programs help, and it's the least response, it still shows that, 40% is significant to some extent. So it still shows that sometimes it does not have the most expensive strategies. It is about the little things. It is about the low costly initiatives that sometimes make the best of impact for employees.
You have 1 minute.
So we say that high leaders attribute failure to external causes, and employees feel fairly treated. They stay with you, and in conclusion, we say that leader emotional intelligence positively affects employee engagement and all the concepts we looked at. So for hotel leaders, they can prioritize leader emotional intelligence when hiring and promoting. And for industry associations, they can design scenario-based emotional intelligence training for Ghana and Cameroon. And for future research, they can look at larger research, larger samples and validated skills for studying the same concepts we looked at. So these are the references we used for our study. Thank you very much, everyone. And thank you for people who joined. I have 4 people, I think 2 now on the call. They joined to listen to the presentation. So thank you to them. And thank you once again to my team and our supervisor. She was on call sometimes later in the night, making sure we had the best of content.